Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Got my freshman dorm leader fired a year after he called the cops on me. I never really posted anything before, but I have a funny revenge karma story that my friends have always enjoyed. I first got to college my freshman year and met the dorm leader, RA at most schools. Like most colleges, the dorm leader was the upperclassman that lived in the dorms and monitored the freshman halls. My dorm leader's name was Julio, fake name by the way, and at first he seemed like a nice dude that minded his own business. He talked about how he would stay out of everyone's business if we would stay out of his. Also, he tried to be the cool dorm leader and always mentioned to me about how he drank tons of alcohol his freshman year in the dorms. He gave off the impression he really didn't care if we ever drank in our dorm rooms, but to just keep it on the low if we did. I really didn't drink much at all, but I appreciated the fact that he seemed pretty normal and didn't try to rat on the kids. During the last week of October of my freshman year of college, I had one of the hardest weeks of my academic career. I was a biochemistry major taking some pretty tough classes and had 3 exams that week. At the end of the week, a friend I had recently made down the hall invited me to his dorm room to watch an upcoming NBA game. As we were watching the game, he had a bottle of vodka and gave some to the guys in the dorm. Being a naive and stupid freshman kid just trying to make some friends, I took one shot of vodka and continued to watch the game. As we're watching the game, one of the guys in the dorm spills a bottle of soda and rushes to the bathroom to grab some paper towels. As he walks out of the dorm room, Julio walked by and noticed the bottle of vodka. He laughed and said something of the sorts of, "I remember when I was a freshman, haha. Just try and keep it down." We thanked him and told him to have a good night. It seemed like a normal conversation and nothing out of the ordinary. 30 minutes later, we hear a knock on the door and 2 policemen showed up with breathalyzers. They told us they had received a complaint from Julio about underage drinking and a party being thrown in the dorm room. Remember, it was 3 guys watching a Lakers game on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. I ended up getting a minor in consumption charge for blowing a .02. Had to do 20 hours community service, a reflection journal, and appear to the Judicial Affairs Center at my college about my supposed drinking problem. I'm not blaming the officer for giving me a ticket, but I was pretty upset that Julio, who always talked about getting poop-faced freshman year in the dorm, called the police right after he essentially gave us the okay for the night. A few weeks later, I see Julio and straight up asked him why he decided to rat me out. Specifically, I asked why he didn't just tell me to head back to my dorm if he had a problem with the alcohol, instead of calling the police right after our conversation. He responds word for word with, "You made a decision and had to suffer the consequences of that decision." After that incident, I never really talked to him, but he always tried to be buddy-buddy when he saw me in the hallway. Anyway, I eventually leave the dorms and move off campus for my sophomore year. I had decided to rush a fraternity my freshman year and ended up meeting some really nice guys. I have never been the fraternity type, but I went to a smaller college where fraternities are a lot different than most places. During the second semester of my sophomore year, my fraternity was taking a new pledge class. One day, I received a text from Julio saying, "One of the guys pledging your fraternity has been caught dealing alcohol to another freshman in the dorms. I thought I would let you know." Turns out Julio was the dorm leader for a freshman pledging my fraternity and ratted him out to Judicial Affairs as well. Thinking the term dealing alcohol was the lamest/funniest thing I have ever heard, I sent that to our fraternity group me and everyone laughed about it. About a week later, that kid pledging our fraternity came up to me asking about the message I received from Julio. Essentially, a pretty similar thing happened to him like what happened to me. Julio found out he had given another kid in the dorm a bottle of wine and reported it to the police. This kid ended up getting a minor in possession and had to speak with Judicial Affairs. This is where the story gets hilarious. In his meeting with Judicial Affairs, the kid pledging our fraternity told the Judicial Affairs guy that his dorm leader, Julio was now a senior at this point, had texted me about the charges pending against him. Apparently, it's a huge violation to discuss pending charges against a freshman in your dorm to a third party. The Judicial Affairs guy told him that if he could prove Julio was discussing this charge with a third party, aka me, he would receive severe sanctions. Basically, if I sent that text to the Judicial Affairs people, Julio would be in a poop load of trouble. So I sent the text that night to the judicial affairs people. After that, I didn't hear anything about what happened to Julio and had honestly forgotten about it. However, nearing the end of the school year in my sophomore year, I saw Julio at the dining hall and came up to speak to me. He tells me a story about how he knows I was the one that ratted him out to judicial affairs, how he ended up getting fired from his dorm leader position, lost the scholarship money his dorm leader job provided him, and overall how poop his life has been since he got fired. After going through his entire sob story, he asked me, "Why did you do that? This could have been handled completely differently. I didn't have to get fired and I could have kept my scholarship money." I look at him dead in the eye for what seemed like 30 seconds and say, "Julio, you made a decision and had to suffer the consequences of that decision. Nobody likes a rat. It didn't have to happen. Honestly, none of the events in the story should have happened the way they did. It's all legitimately Julio's fault." Tootsie Roll. This happened many moons ago. I can't say it's pro-revenge, but for a 4th grader, it's epic. We had a homeroom in school, the room you started your day in, the one where you kept your stuff like school supplies and, most importantly, our lunch. So beginning of the day, we leave everything in the desk, which is where we were told to keep everything. Class ends, I pick up the needed school supplies and book for the next couple of classes, plus PE. A few classes later, we go back to homeroom, where we have a class, then we break for lunch period. One day I went to get my lunch and half of it was gone, pudding and a few pieces of candy. I told my teacher that someone had stolen part of my lunch. She assured me no one had taken my food. I explained that yes, my food was missing. She still said no one took my food. I couldn't understand why she wasn't comprehending what I was saying. I'm right next to her desk telling her. She said lunch is about to begin and go sit down before the bell rings. I said I will, but first I need you to understand what I'm saying. Someone has taken my lunch. Again, she said I was mistaken. I said I don't understand why you can't just investigate what happened. Now it's getting real. She said it's lunchtime and I needed to go to the cafeteria. I said why? Someone ate my lunch. I have nothing to eat. She told me if I didn't leave, she would take me to the principal's office. I said, great, let's go because I'm not leaving until you do something. She said, okay, I'll do something. I said, great, thanks. What are you going to do? She said she didn't have time to deal with me, so I left. Next day, I was missing another treat for my lunch. Now, understand that I'm poor. That meal is all I have. My mom and dad are a piece of crap on drugs, so I make my own lunch, which tends to be a jelly sandwich if we have it, and candy from Halloween or something. This particular week, me and my brother scored on pudding, and I had yet to eat any because some little jerk absconded with my stuff. So I brought this up to my teacher, and again, she didn't want to hear about it. So I went to the principal's office during lunchtime myself to file whatever grievance a fourth grader could do. At least the principal heard what I had to say. Monday morning came and my teacher was pissed that I went to the principal. She scolds me in front of the other students saying I'm a tattletale. No one likes a narc. Not cool. I just sat there and said nothing. When I got home, I told my mom and dad. Their solution was for me to take my lunch with me. I did think about that, but I didn't because it was a hassle to carry everything, plus to put it in a safe place. One class was PE, physical education. That's just not right, so I didn't. Their idea sucked. My idea was genius. I had a big Tootsie Roll like the size of an adult's finger. They are so good, I hate to ruin it, but what a great cause. So I took my dad's drill motor, chucked up a large-sized drill, and bored out enough of the Tootsie Roll to load it up with 5W transmission fluid. I capped it with the shavings that I bored out, wrapped it back up, and my trap was set. It looked great. Tootsie Rolls are a little oily on the outside because of the heat or the makeup of the candy itself. I was so proud of myself. For the craftsmanship I used for the devious idea. This was going to work. I didn't tell anyone of my plan. Not my mom and dad or my little brother. In the back of my head I kept thinking, who is doing this? My brother? My teacher? She hated me. I was a smart kid, always did my stuff, but with an attitude. I looked like a hippie, bell-bottoms, ZZ top t-shirt. Not proper for rednecks in Oklahoma, but I just didn't know. I soon found out what period my food was being taken and by whom. It was this ginger kid, fat tub of poop, who was related to, of all people, my teacher. How? I can't remember, but they were kin. I was taken to the principal's office. I'm thinking I'm getting an award for finding a thief. Nope, I'm getting yelled at. It took me a second to comprehend I was being reprimanded. I had enough of adults pushing me around, making me feel like the bad guy. I explained to both of them that I didn't give Fat Ginger permission to eat my food. Why is he sick? Did he eat something that wasn't his? Did anyone think that stealing someone's food is wrong? But I'm the bad guy. I hate to tell you, but Ginger's going to die. I put cyanide in the food from rat poison. He had already been taken to the nurse's office. Principal and teacher started to freak out. I started laughing, said it was only transmission fluid. They were going to give me paddling. I explained that that was never going to happen. My mom and dad have to be present. So let's get them here and see if they agree with me, the victim, or you who didn't listen or do anything to protect me. My mom might be a lot of things, but when it comes to her kid being bullied, she went off on them. I was in the outer office hearing her go off on them. When she came out, I asked her if I was the winner. She said, "Yes, baby, you showed them. You're the winner." This was a very well-crafted pro-revenge. If you were in this situation and somebody kept stealing pieces of your lunch, what would you do? Let me know in the comment section down below. Delay house construction for 6 months, I'll take over your Google business. Last summer, I bought my grandparents' home from the family and started remodeling it. The septic system was absolutely wrecked and had to be replaced ASAP. Hired the engineer, got plans drawn, pulled permits, and contacted the installer that my engineer recommended. He stalled me through the fall, resulting in me having to wait until this spring and use a different, more expensive installer. It's been wet. This has caused me major headaches. Once the work was completed, I Googled his business. He hasn't claimed it. I claimed the business, switched his number and address to the competition across town. Should be an interesting few months for him. Edit. As per some of the comments, I have changed up things. I just signaled his business as closed temporarily and put a BS phone number in. As a couple of others have said, even if he goes through the process of claiming his business, it will still be a headache, in which I'm still wondering if he will be able to do anything. We share a common last name. His company is his last name Excavating, which would be my last name Septic Service, if I chose so, which is what I have changed things to. I get it. If I was in an OP situation, I would be frustrated getting stalled and having to wait and get all those major headaches. So I understand why OP went and tried to get back at them somehow. Sister didn't like the work done and had to do it all over again. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Anyway, it's quite hot where I live and our house has only got one AC, so me and my sister take mattresses from another room's bed and sleep in the AC room. Now, to avoid confusion, it was my duty to take the mattresses in the night, and it was my sister's duty to put them back the next morning. It went fine for the first few days, but then she kept sleeping till late to skip taking them. My mom is recovering from cancer and my dad is busy with work from home, so I take off the mattresses in the morning and put the bed sheet on them. When my sister woke up, she didn't like it and got annoyed and screamed at me for not doing it properly. I got up, went to the room, and took the whole thing down and told her to do it herself. Luckily, my mom supported me on this and scolded my sister and took her phone when she still hadn't set them in her way till the evening. Though we had to take them back again in a few hours, my mom made her do the whole thing and only then gave the phone back. Not a big revenge, but the satisfaction is awesome because siblings are very, very annoying sometimes. If you agree to a deal, I think both sides were expected to withhold their ends of the bargain. She was slacking, she paid the price. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today, so what I want to know is which of these stories that I've read for you today are your personal favorite and why? Let me know which story and why in the comments section down below. And thank you all so very much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.